Choosing Home by ginnyrules27, Chapter 4. The group of four quickly made their way to the bikes. Well, maybe quickly was the wrong word to use, considering Mal moved rather slowly in her forced old age. In all honesty, it was rather frustrating for the other three, but they tried to hide it. It wasn't Mal's fault after all. She was probably moving faster than she would if she was still in that cape shawl thing she had been wearing when Audrey had first transformed her into the hag. "Oh, gods," Jane muttered after a few minutes of needing to stop and wait for Mal, and went to pick her up to carry her on his back as they got to the bikes. He knew it wasn't her fault, but she was moving much too slowly for his liking. "If you carry me, I curse you!" Mal threatened, glaring at Jay with as much force as her hag form could muster. Truthfully, it wasn't that much, but Jane knew the meaning behind the glare. Once Mal got back to her regular self, he'd be cursed to kingdom come. "Mal, you're moving slower than molasses in February." Jay sighed but stopped in his tracks. He knew that Mal was as good as her word anyway, and probably wouldn't stop with just cursing him. Though she'd probably curse him into something that would cause Lonnie to laugh at him for weeks. As long as it wasn't a parrot, though, Jay'd be fine with it. "Jay, if it bothers you that much, bring her bike to her. We're already here anyway," Harry stated as he climbed on his. "Gods, remind me to thank Ben for these bikes." They truly were great bikes, each one custom made for the rider's preferences. For instance, Uma's bike was teal blue with decals that looked like ocean waves along the frame, whereas Harry's was red and black with a hook decal wrapped around the handlebars. Mal's bike, of course, was purple with decals along the frame that almost looked like the bike itself had wings furled up on each side. And Jay's bike was orange with a snake decal along the side. Ben, of course, got bikes for Carlos, Gil and Evie once they had brought more into the fold, but they didn't use them as often as the Rotten Four did. "Hey, where is Gil?" Jay asked as he looked at the red and gold bike with handlebars that almost looked like antlers. "He's with Carlos at Rogers and Anita's," Uma said. "He wanted to be with Macaria, but apparently she hasn't told her parents about him yet." "What, is she ashamed of him?" "Nope, just wants to make sure Jercules won't give Gil the Leah treatment, so to speak, and judge him for crimes Gaston did." "Oh, that makes more sense now that I think about it," Jay said as he went to get on his bike. "It's not like Wonder Breath would say Macaria can't date a person who didn't have a divine background. I'm just picturing the Gaston twins' reaction to finding out that Gil is dating a goddess," Harry smirked. "Considering those two like to align themselves with gangs like the Angels, they'll be pretty shocked indeed." Uma sighed and shook her head. "Aunt Persephone should let Uncle Hades know we're coming," she said as they all got on their bikes, trying to get the boys focused back on what they were aiming to do. She bit her lip as she saw Mal almost topple over as she tried to get on her own bike. "You alright there, Mal?" Jay asked. "Just fine." "Okay," Jay sighed. "Just wanted to double check. Last thing we need is for you to fall and break something." "I'll break your head if you don't stop worrying," Mal said with a glare, though the threatening aspect of it was diminished by how soft her voice had become. Jay held back a chuckle as Mal finally righted herself and the four of them drove off to the aisle. Normally Mal would have basked in the glow of the sun along the ride, or smiled at the thought of seeing her dad once more. Not this time. This time her mind was busy going 1,000,000 miles a minute, as if it was obligated to make up for the speed she now physically lacked. "Gods! Audrey and Freddie teaming up?" she thought with a small sigh. "This was not good. Like, so not good. It was probably one of the worst combinations we could get. If it was just Freddie, it would be annoying, but we know how to fight him. Hell, I could just turn into a dragon and turn him back into a chew toy before we dumped him on the aisle for the rats to handle. But Audrey, with Maleficent's scepter? Damn, it'd be a challenge. Especially since Ben wouldn't want Audrey getting hurt. And how in the world could I do anything in this hag form? I guess I'll just have to get to the Isle. Maybe Dad can do something with his ember. Oma, cast the spell, Mal said as they stopped. You sure, Mally? I don't know what will happen if I cast it, Mal said, her voice cracking and pausing every few words. Uma nodded and held her shell between her fingers, the glow of the golden shell barely visible in the light of day. Noble steeds, proud and fair, you shall take us anywhere, Uma said, and then quickly drove off. She led the parade of bikes, with Harry and Jay flanking Mal's bike, one on each side. The last thing they wanted was for Mal to hit a wave and fall off. Sure, Jay couldn't swim either, in which retrospect would have been better for him to drive with Uma flanking him, or have Harry in the middle flanked by Mal and Jay. But as he'd tell you, Mal was more important anyway. She was the future Queen of Oridon, while he was just a former thief. Though Uma had been quick to notice that he didn't say that type of thing around Lonnie. In fact, ever since Cotillion, he was always quick to make sure she knew that he'd be okay if he did something dangerous. Though if you ever asked him about it, he'd say something about not wanting to worry Ben or something along those lines. He had even sent her a quick text before they rode off, letting her know about Audrey and that he'd be on the Isle and unreachable for a bit. Oh, he thought he was being sneaky about it, but Uma didn't grow up on the Isle without developing a sense of knowing what was happening around her. Plus, Harry had read it over his shoulder and relayed it to her. Denial, thy name is Jay, Uma chuckled. Sure, it was one thing to take a girl to Cotillion, but she had spent enough time around the Oridon lot to know that Lonnie may have been the one of the few girls in Oridon to know how to wield a sword, but she still wanted a bit of romance. Personally, not really Uma's thing, but Lonnie was good people. She'd take care of Freddy's problem, and then Uma would whack Jay over the head with something until he finally planned a romantic date. Sword fighting and dinner in the cafeteria wasn't going to cut it this time, Jaden. They hit the barrier and Uma smiled as, out of the corner of her eye, she could see Mal change. That was the whole reason why she wanted to return to the Isle in the first place. Well, and to see her uncle. What? Seeing Uncle Hades meant eating Uncle Hades' food. Look who's back, Uma said as they parked the bikes and Mal lifted up her goggles to show that she was truly back to her normal self. Mal grinned back at her. I'm me again! Evil magic doesn't work here, remember? Kind of the point of the barrier. Uma chuckled. Why do you think I wanted to come here in the first place? And here I thought you just wanted to bring Dad into the fray. Mal chuckled, and Uma did the same. Jay, Harry, hide the bikes, Uma ordered as they made sure to pull them into one close cluster. Jay quickly pocketed the remote to the bridge on the off chance some urchin ended up finding their bikes anyway. They could always get new bikes. They couldn't get a new control. And with Freddy still in Oridon, the last thing they needed was to be trapped on the Isle. Aye, Gavin, Harry nodded, quickly grabbing a tarp and tossing it over the bikes. Good, Uma nodded. Let's go. Harry bit his lip and looked over in the direction of Pirate Cove and the Lost Revenge. Cap'n, do you mind if I run and do something real quick? There's someone I need to talk to. Harry, we don't have time for you to flirt with Ginny Gothel. Uma sighed. No, no! Harry shook his head, ignoring the slight shimmer of disgust at the thought of flirting with Ginny again. He did that once when he was 15 and Uma didn't talk to him for a week. It's CJ. Uma tilted her head. Harry, you never call her by that name. I think the last time you called CJ by her name was when she was 13. It's usually runt or small fry or guppy. I've been meaning to ask, was she born premature or particularly small, because all your nicknames for her are size-based? Uma, I was 2 when she was born. Do you really think I remember how big CJ was at that point? Good point. Please proceed. Harry sighed and ran a hand through his hair. Mal and Jay had gone on ahead a bit, as to give the two of them privacy. Harriet told me in the limo. CJ thinks I hate her. Don't you? Maybe before I got to Borodon. Harry sighed. It was true that he wasn't the most fond of his kid sister. I mean, he'd still protect her with his life because she was crew, and that's what you did. But anything else? He wasn't lying when he told Harriet what the shrink had said. After spending many sessions getting Harry to finally open up, the therapist had sat in shocked astonishment as Harry told him the story. So, your mum died when you were 2? That's what I said. Harry nodded, sitting on the therapist's desk and swinging his feet in the air. And you've hated your sister ever since? Harriet? No, of course not. She's amazing, Harry said. She's practically been a mother to me and the runt ever since the captain foisted the parenting responsibilities onto her. I mean, she was 5 and could barely say the runt's full name. And do you know your little sister's full name? Harry nodded. Callista Jane Hook. He said, Harriet asked the captain once why CJ got the matching letter treatment for her names, while we just got H names. And what did he say? The therapist asked as he took a note on the clipboard he always had with him. It was commonplace to see as it was Harry with his hook. That the runt was named after our grandmothers, Harry said. Callista was my mother's name, and Jane was the captain's. Combine that with the fact that the runt looks like our mother except blonde, and you'll see why it's safe to say she's the favourite. The favourite that you hate? You'd hate anyone who murdered your mother, Harry muttered, casting his eyes downwards. The therapist shook his head. Harry, you've told me a lot about the Isle, and about this one person. Freddie, you said his name was? What about Freddie? I thought we were talking about the runt, Harry asked, growling a little at Freddie's name. There was an incident you told me about, where your friends Jay, Nick, and Jake needed to hold you back, the therapist said, flipping back through his notes. Can you repeat what you had told Freddie the day off? Harry bit his lip as he thought back to that day. The day Freddie had said that he wanted to play with CJ's pirate booty, and about 3 of the rats needing to hold Harry back. I said... Go on. Harry sighed. I said, my sister is a child, Freddie. I don't want to think about you sniffing around her anymore. Do you understand? Boy, you must have lost your damn mind, because I'll help you find it. Don't bother looking for Jesus or whatever it is you like to preach while you're doing the opposite, just like your father. Your God could come walking onto the aisle, and he's not going to be able to help you if you don't stop sniffing around my baby sister. His therapist nodded. Anyone who can say those words, I don't think then would hate the person they were defending with said words. Ever hear about the phrase, enemy of my enemy? Harry asked, and his therapist sighed. Believe it or not, his therapist scheduled a lot more sessions for Harry to attend. Harry, I want you to be able to go to her, Uma said gently, but we don't have much time, and the last thing I want is for you to get hurt. Why would I? Harry, she spent how many years thinking you hate her? I mean, think about it. Even if you nearly stabbed Freddie with your sword for that comment, you never really checked on her. I asked Harriet if she was okay, Harry said. After all, CJ was there when Freddie made the comment. Did she hear your defense of her? Uma asked. Harry shook his head. Jade whisked her away before I got the chance to get it out. I think I was choked by rage because it took a good few minutes before I was able to get the words out of my mouth, and that was before I tried to skewer Freddie with my sword. Good for Jade, then, Uma mused. All right, Harry. If you really want to go talk to CJ, take Jay with you. Check on Ryan and the others in the crew while you're at it. Harry smiled, a smile that Uma returned willingly. Let it never be said that Harry did not care for his sisters. Come on, you lot, I'm growing ancient here, Mal exclaimed, tapping her foot. The longer they took on the aisle, the longer it would take to get back to Ben. With Audrey already having announced that she was going to make Ben her next stop, Mal was chomping at the bit to get her dad's Ember and get back to Auradon. She just hoped she wouldn't be too late, and that Ben could handle things until she got back. Oh, who was she kidding? Of course Ben could handle things. He was their king, and she was just his lady. Well, more than just his lady. His fiancée. Did she mention how much she loved that change in title? Shaking her head to maintain her focus, Mal led the way as the two groups veered off. Mal and Uma heading left to make their way to the underworld, and to talk to Hades, while the boys veered right to get to the ship and for a certain first mate to have a well overdue talk with his younger sister. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. And first of all, can I just say, Freddie Frollo better count his days. CJ was 13! Okay, I'm no paedophile, but, well, forgive my language, but fucking God. Oh boy. And sorry if my voice sounds different, but this is the first time recording in my new room. Yes, I've changed location for my recordings, and I'm very happy with how we've set this thing up. I'm not going to show you guys anything because of course internet safety, but I'm a happy girl right now. I also like that, even with all the flirting and little moments, Harry and Uma do still talk about the serious stuff. I mean, he trusts her with this kind of knowledge. And, well, I think it's a very good thing that the VKs are going to therapy. I've actually been to therapy because of my anxiety, and it helped me be able to control it so much better. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.